Hello and good evening. My name is Diego from the Hit Music Studio, and I wanted to jump here and do a short live because this week has been a week that has been very interesting to help my students and to almost mention a couple of things that I think I see all over the place and I see so regularly that I wanted to like almost like share it with you guys. Hopefully, you guys can benefit from it. When you practice, I think there's an element that is so incredibly important to find a correct challenge. One of the things that I see with my students, and I really feel like this is part of the reason that I love teaching, is because when someone is learning, I really believe that it's good to challenge the person, but you cannot challenge the person with something that would like almost exceed their abilities in a point that it would become very frustrating. And one quick story, and I want to do a probably like a little bit lengthy video on this because I think it's a very interesting thing. When I was growing up, I think I was in my teens, and I remember that my teacher kept on giving me different pieces, and I was having a really good time and an easy time playing a lot of the things that he was giving me. And I remember that all of a sudden he gave me this piece, and the piece absolutely like almost was like an obstacle, like a giant wall that I couldn't surpass. And it took me actually hours the other day because I felt like, you know what, I knew who the composer was. The composer is Frederick Chopin, and I wanted to find it. I wanted to find out exactly what it was, and I'm pretty sure that I found it. I'll put it in the screen in a second. It took me a while, and one thing is like I didn't play it enough when I was young because I couldn't. And I vaguely remember how it started. So I did a lot of research in Chopin pieces, and I think this one is the one. And I'll show it to you guys here on the screen. So it's called Nocturne in F minor, and it's beautiful. And probably can like show you a couple of things on it, like by playing them. But one cool thing is it doesn't look like it will be super, complex. And I remember like when he showed it to me, and I saw the paper, being like, okay, it looks like it's gonna be a challenge. But one of the things that to this day I know that I couldn't get it to work for me. And now, so much later, one thing that I want to do, and I'm already like started practicing, and it's part of the reason that I wanted to make this video. I want to be able to conquer it and get it, and almost like see what was the difference, like so many years later. And now that, of course, I have a lot more information, a lot more resources of how to tackle a challenge, just see what kept me from playing it. I think it's important for all of you guys to hopefully just get challenged by things, but not in a point that they will be really discouraging. Now, let me show you, and specifically on this piece, and I have it here in my iPad as well. One of the things that it has is it has a lot of jumps on the left hand. And again, I can't even play it right now, and I won't attempt to play too much of it. But just the left, and this is a great example. Like what I was doing today when I started playing it is just the left hand, very slowly. And that's a pattern that repeats. Now I don't even feel, and I know part of the reason that I had a hard time when I was younger playing it is because it has a lot of jumping. This is a fairly big distance, and it's not necessarily like almost like comfortable. So when you're doing this, one thing that I see with my students is instead of doing what I just did there for 10 minutes and getting it really good and maybe just playing the right hand, the right hand of this one is not super complicated, but it's interesting because I almost see in my students this. There's like an impatience, like I want to get it now. I want to do the whole thing now in one shot. Like okay, just like I'm ready to finish it right now. And one thing that I see so many years after like being playing and being a teacher for so long is that there is a component of just being patient, but there is a component of almost enjoying the process of like, okay, I'm doing this and I don't sound good on it, and it's really challenging. But that's actually like the road that is going to get you to be able to be better. And one interesting thing to me now, so many years later, is that I actually enjoy that feeling of like this is kind of like this is a giant wall, and I'm having a really hard time like even getting started because I feel like with younger students and with anyone, with almost everyone in general, because I also have adults, they don't want to be in that moment. They don't want to be in that position of like, okay, this is really hard. I don't know what to do. So it's almost like I see with my students, some of them, and I would say the ones that struggle the worst do this. When they get frustrated, they want to go faster. When they get frustrated, they want to almost like, okay, like let me just like do it a couple times and just move to the next section. And it's exactly the opposite of what you need. When something is not there, don't go through. Just try to do it more and more and more. And to me, it's interesting because I would like to almost like document the process of me learning this piece that was such a like a huge roadblock when I was like growing up, and just seeing now like what would it take and what can I learn of what could I have told myself when I was young, like do this, because I almost feel like when you have a challenge, like if I compare this to an athlete, athletes, I know when they're trying to break through on something new, they train for it in multiple different ways, and it's almost like maybe the thing that they're trying to do is made out of five different parts, but they train for each one to put it together. I think us musicians are very, I don't know, like I almost like used to, like I want it now, like I want to do it directly in one shot. And even worse, and I can tell you this happens a lot with my students, when they're very familiar with the song, because they almost are familiar with the speed, they're familiar with how it goes. So when they practice it, they want to just like if it was a performance. So I definitely want to encourage you guys in this video, and I will continue to do more of documented this process of me learning the Nocturne in F by Chopin, to just say that it is very very important to just enjoy the process of feeling uncomfortable. Now I can tell you this because I think this is something that I don't even remember who was my teacher at that time, but to me it's interesting because I almost felt like in that moment I probably should have had more help, because I remember just like quitting on the song and being like on the piece and being like I can't play it. But I think I should have been given more resources, and I think probably it was not the right challenge at the moment that I tried it. I think I probably should have tried it later. But I think that's the beautiful thing about music too, and music that is properly documented. That is like you can always go back at it. You can always, okay, maybe I love this piece, and this is a. But sometimes, and I see this with adults, sometimes they have a piece or a song that is like that's the reason that they want to learn how to play guitar. That's the reason they want to learn how to sing. But maybe that's not where you need to start. That's not where you are now, and that's not what your ability is. So I would say the challenge, and I read a book that I really highly recommend called Atomic Habits. He talks about make the challenge be 20 to 30% of your ability, because then it's manageable. But when the challenge is 75% of your ability, it just becomes discouraging. So definitely encouraging you guys to find challenges, and I think that's the beautiful thing of having a program like the one that we put together at the Hit Music Studio, because the challenges are put sequentially and they're there to help you. And I would say if you're learning how to play online without a program, it is very likely that you will give yourself challenges that are out of place in your development. So be careful with that. Try to, when you're learning, maybe get a book, maybe get something that has a point A to point B, because I think that's definitely going to help you. So we definitely want to thank you for being a part of this live. We'll see you guys on the next one. Definitely let us know if you have any questions for us. We do this type of content to help people out there that are in the process of learning piano, because for me, it's actually very cool to like almost have people skip some of the issues that I saw when I was trying to learn, and that I see especially now that I'm a full-time piano instructor. We'll see you guys soon. Take care.